a, what should I say? I'll say ardent television viewer, you would have seen the commercial for this university. And you probably have heard it on radio. I think I've heard it on radio as well. And I'm talking about Wigwe University.
Yes.
Wigwe University is unwavering in its commitment to excellence in education and the shaping of future African leaders. Their purpose is to build and nurture truly responsible, fearless leaders that will drive transformative change in Nigeria and in Africa. They recognize that the realization of sustainable progress in Africa hinges on the cultivation of leaders who are not only academically proficient, but also possess a relentless obligation to changing the current narrative of Africa and its people.
Yes.
Please welcome the Vice-Chancellor, Wigwe University, Professor Miles Davis.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you, Alego, and Iko, thank you for inviting me to be here today.
Well, he's wearing Nigerian attire, but he's only faking it. You know that expression, fake it till you make it?
Well, he's made it to Nigeria.
Well, let's be clear. Let's go a step further. I am not faking it because I've had my DNA done. 30% of my DNA is actually from Nigeria. Another 27% is from Cameroon, and another 20% is from Benin. So my roots are in Africa, and I'm not fake. I'm just reclaiming my heritage.
I apologize. Welcome, Professor Davis.
Honored to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. Now, what's the big idea about the creation of this university? I think everybody has heard that a university is coming or has come called Wigwe University.
Yes. Our vision is to nurture prosperity on the African continent, and we're going to nurture that prosperity by developing leaders. There are a lot of educational institutions that focus in on the trades or developing, preparing people for jobs. And of course, that's why you get an education, to create options. But people have come to the African continent in general, in Nigeria specifically, to pull out their resources. One of the resources that is often not discussed that is being pulled out of this continent is the brain drain. Last year, 44,000 Nigerians sent their children abroad to go to school. Those children do not come back here. The UK, 1/5 of the educational budget coming into the UK is from sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria in particular, yes. So imagine if we took those resources, that intellectual brain power, and put it back into the country to develop the country. And let me be clear. You're right. I was not born here, but I've seen and been exposed to the resiliency of the people here. Hardworking, innovative, extremely bright, and extremely intelligent. And yet, some of the best of us are not here. Some of the best of us have gone away. When I, even on my way here, see the young men on the street carrying their sewing machines, nothing wrong with that, because you dress nicely, I dress nicely, we like people who make clothes. However, let's also have people who can create larger clothing businesses that can have companies. Before I left the US, I lived in a state called Oregon. One of the last things I did before I left, the Portland Museum of Art, you can look this up, had an African fashion exhibit. And I got to see the mother of African fashion and how African fashion has influenced the world. One of the gifts that I was given this Christmas was from a young man named Diantu, who was in the UK, who is an African fashion designer from Nigeria. We should be able to do these things here in Nigeria and create employment and opportunity for Nigeria to reinvest the human and intellectual capital back into this country.
Now, it's like you almost answered this question, but
no,
you have to convince me.
That's okay.
What makes Wigwe University different?
Okay.
I mean, you've given us the big idea, the vision and everything. Everyone is going to come out and say, look, we want to build an educated Nigeria, resilient people and all those things. But in terms of the DNA of Wigwe University, what makes it different from other Nigerian or African universities? There are those people watching us now who want you to convince them why they have to come to Wigwe University as opposed to some French university next door.
And this is a good question, but I also want to start off by saying this. It is never my job to convince anyone of anything, because you either can understand and accept, or you do not understand or you do not accept. What I can do is give you information. It is never my job to change minds. All I can do is provide information. Human beings are in control of their own thoughts. And so when I say that, here's what we're doing. First of all, from the ground up, it is built to support not just a quality education, but a quality education in a cultural environment that supports and nurtures leaders. And you're right, I began to address that, is that what we are doing are preparing people to lead. We are preparing people to own, not just be cogs in the machine. One of the great educators that came out of the United States who actually had influence on the African continent was W.B. Du Bois. And what W.B. Du Bois talked about when he went to Ghana with Kwame Nkrumah was to talk about that there's a talented tenth, there's a population that is designed to prepare to lead. This is what we often have not done in education. We have not prepared people to lead, we've prepared them for jobs. Number one. Number two, the culture from the very beginning, it is not just what is happening in the classroom, because we can discuss the innovative methods that we're using in the classroom, but also from the staff to the faculty that we're hiring, it is a supportive, nurturing system that has the resources to add to intellectual as well as physical as well as spiritual growth and development, to contribute to the development of the whole human being, to make them ready. Because our goal is that within 15 years to have our students be governors, not just employees.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you want to come to Nigeria and be the Oxford/Cambridge of Nigeria.
Well, let me put it to you this way. The Oxfords and Cambridge were developed for the British people and British nobility. I came from the United States, and Harvard and Yale and Princeton. They were developed for people in the U.S. They were developed for the people who owned enslaved Africans. What we're doing is developing the best within the African context.
Okay.
This is a difference, because we're not replicating the British system or replicating the U.S. system, but we're taking the best from the world. The largest group of our faculty will be from the African continent, mostly from Nigeria, because Nigeria has a great reputation. The universities here have done amazing things. And let's also pull resources from around the world to put them in our institution.
Okay. Can you explain to us this concept of the fearless legacy that you intend to leave?
Yes. So let's be clear. To be fearless doesn't mean that you do not have fear of things. Only a fool is not afraid. On my ride over here today, as I was going by tractor containers, I was afraid. so I'm not pretending that I don't have fear. What we mean is to develop the capacity and the resiliency to push past the fear, to be able to look out and say, yes, there are challenges, because that's what fear says. Fear is a result of something that is challenging you, something that is different to you, something that may be moving you even to the next level. I was partially afraid to move.
To Nigeria.
To Nigeria. But there are concerns, there are fears, and then there's the bigger vision. And so this is what being fearless means, is to say, okay, there are challenges here. How do we confront and how do we address these challenges? I'm a little bit afraid of you. but I'm still going to talk to you because I have to be ready and have these conversations. So.
You should be afraid of her. Although she's one of your neighbors in Benin. So.
That's wonderful.
But question.
Yes, sir.
Wigwe is a private university.
Yes.
How affordable is it?
So affordability is a relative question. So along with the 44,000 people who were sent out of Nigeria to school, do you know on average how much they spent? Because I have this data because I'm a data geek. So you know how much on average how much they spent? $70,000 US a year to send their children abroad. I had a conversation with a person the other day who is sending their child to a boarding school in another country that is actually more than our tuition. So affordability is a relative term. So the prices are on the website, but I also want to commit to this because you cannot develop an economy or a country only bringing in people who can afford to pay for it. So we have set aside 10% of our population will be on scholarship. We are going to sponsor them because we want all people to have access to our institution.
Okay. When is this university taking off? When is your first semester?
Wonderful question. Classes start, there's a countdown on the website. Classes start in 252 days, September 9th. 252 days and 3 hours. Classes start.
Okay. Are your first intakes going to come from the UTME system?
Yes, they are. We are in full compliance because we're very much aware of NUC regulations. And until we have graduated our first class, there are restrictions about what we can and cannot do. And so we are following those things to the letter.
Go ahead.
Because it is important for us to, even though we are intentionally setting up an international university, we're a Nigerian center, and you have to obey regulatory and laws within the country in which you're doing.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
Your website is wigweuniversity.edu.ng.
Yes.
wigweuniversity.edu.ng.
Yes.
I want to correct you.
Oh, what did it say?
It's 252 days and 13 hours.
Oh, man. I had the number 3 right in my head. So that's what was floating in my head. And maybe I'm just anxious. It's like I want to take off those 10 hours of 3. But at least you checked on me. And besides, you just gave me a wonderful opportunity to plug the website. So this is fantastic.
Oh,
so
well, it should be on the website, on the screen shortly.
Yes.
But a number of other things that so many people will be asking about. I mean, you talked about compliance with the federal government initiatives and all.
Yes.
Okay, well, this is your website. When we close this one, this is thanking
there
you for coming.
Yes.
And then that countdown is right there.
Yes, it is.
Somewhere on the page. And of course, you can explore the website and everything. There are those who would be wondering, the reason many people leave Nigeria is because they don't think that the courses, the quality of education they're going to get is going to be globally competitive.
Yes.
Now, you're talking about compliance.
Yes.
Now, the federal government's Federal Ministry of Education has certain, NUC and the rest of them have certain, what do we call them, curriculum, all of those things. So, how is your university's curriculum different or in comparison with those of other universities in Nigeria or outside of it?
So let's be clear that there is a requirement, the curriculum mass, what is generally referred to as general education. There are requirements that the NUC has set forth, and we're going to be in full compliance with those things. Then there is an additional 30% or so that you're allowed to be innovative and add to those things. So we're going to be in full compliance with what has to be done, and then we will add in addition. So for instance, one of the things that we're doing, besides the innovation that we're doing in our animation and our mechatronics, and what we're doing in the performing arts and how we approach it and how we teach it, is also to make sure that people are rooted within the context of African history. It's a requirement to be at our institution, to study and have a perspective, because it will give people a perspective on what's happening in the world today. But also, I want to say this. You mentioned Oxford and various other well-known institutions. My son, who's a lawyer, was fortunate to spend some time at Oxford. My son studied law in the U.S. and he studied law in Oxford. Law is law, but how it is taught, how it is delivered, who is teaching it, and how it's applied becomes the unique feature of it. Yeah. So we're bringing in people, the best of the best, because we want to produce the best. You know a tree by its fruits. And so we want to have people who are well-grounded, who understand our purpose and mission, who are teaching at an institution. We don't want people who just want a job. You can find a job anywhere. We want people who want to make a difference. And this is why it'll be different about how we approach it. So the curriculum may look similar in some cases. In other cases, it will look different. But we will be in compliance with the regulatory environment, and then we will add our own unique spin on what it is we're doing.
Interesting.
I'm wondering why an American professor would accept a job to be Vice-Chancellor in a Nigerian university.
With all the news that you
haven't you heard all the news about Nigeria?
Oh my gosh. And so, first of all, if you'll allow me this, I have to give credit to my father. My father was not an educated man. My father only went to 9th grade. My mother only got as far as 12th grade before she got pregnant with my brother and had to drop out. I tell you this story, personal detail, because I come from very, very humble beginnings. And what my father did for me, though, was he wanted me to be educated in a context other than being enslaved and a second-class citizen, which is how I was perceived in the U.S. So he wanted to talk about all the things that were happening throughout the African diaspora. And so this is how I grew up reading books. So that's why this happened when I was a young man through my teens. And I won't tell you how old I am now, but I'm an old man now. That when the opportunity came to make a difference, to try to make a difference, to assist, I could not say no. If all we do is take what we have learned and apply it in a context that doesn't benefit people who look like us, what are we doing? Oregon has 0.7% black population. And then, of course, you can say, but it's not just you being black, you're an American. Let's be clear. Just because you are inside of a restaurant does not make you a diner. Just because you live in the United States does not make you an American. And so understanding that I had to be here. This will probably be the last thing that I do in my life because, again, I am not a young man. But to have an opportunity to plant a seed in a tree that I may never sit underneath the shade of. How could I say no? How could I say no to that?
Interesting. What motivation do you want to give the young right now about this? It's mom and dad that's going to pay. They don't need convincing.
Yes.
But what do you want to say to the young people who might be able to afford to be, in Wigwe University 252 days from now?
Okay. So let me be clear. I've noticed a lot of people doing a lot of amazing things here in Nigeria. And guess what? They do not have a college education. I'm clear about this. They're doing what they have to do. But I have a good friend of mine, and I'm stealing this quote from her. In order to have choices, you have to make choices. And what education offers you is an opportunity for you to have choice. Because some of us, even the entrepreneurs that I see, or the people on the street, we're what they are necessity entrepreneurs. Because they cannot earn a decent wage anyplace else.
Okay.
And so what I'm saying is let's create opportunities for people to work for large multinationals, if that's what they want to do, to also launch businesses, to be TV spokespeople or announcers.
And to be governors.
To be governors.
Okay. Just a quick one. Where is Wigwe University located?
It is located in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
I'm trying to get good on my pronunciation because I understand I put a bit more emphasis on the R than most do here. It's Port Harcourt, in Mexico State. It is on a campus. And I want to share this with you. Our campus is larger than a significant number of provinces in the continent. So Victoria Island, we're about the same, so our campus is about the same size as VI. In Abuja, 90 hectares constitutes a zone, a province, while we have over 600 hectares. So this is
no more marketing. No marketing.
Professor Davis.
But as you can tell, I'm excited about this project. We are designed by intent to make a difference. And thank you for allowing me to be here to discuss.
Just to be clear, all information about the admission and everything is on the website.
So, Professor Davis, all we can do is wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And, welcome to Nigeria.
Thank you.
And I hope that your experience so far, since you've been here, has been...
It's been wonderful. And I want to invite you to come visit us on our opening ceremonies. They'll be happening September 2nd to 6th. I'm going to extend you a personal invitation. Also, for those who are watching in Port Harcourt, we're having a university fair on Saturday. And it's not just for students and parents, who are also staff will be learning it. We'll also be hiring people from the area. So you're welcome to come. I look forward to seeing you there.
Professor Miles Davis, Vice-Chancellor, Wigwe University, over in Port Harcourt. Thank you for coming to enlighten us about this university.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Sunrise will return in just a moment. Do stay with us.